Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, Bill, Dennis Mel. Happy New Year.
Hey, you too, Dennis. Okay, you're calling in, right, on the 3227?
Yes, that's me.
Okay, just want to make sure.
No problem. Thank you.
Good morning, my EMS family.
Morning, David.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. How you doing, Mike?
Good. How are you?
Fantabulous.
Good.
For a Monday. Mike, do you have a second for a quick phone call afterwards?
Yeah, I'll have to grab my phone. I haven't grabbed it yet, but yes.
Okay.
Morning, David.
Good morning, Rich. Bill, Dave had asked me in an email about the updated schedule from the state for CMAQ SEMSCO. I got an email. I'll send it out to you guys and Mike to you if you haven't gotten it from Valerie, that it's on Wednesday. They're doing everything. I think it's at 3 o'clock online, and they're only doing Med Standards, CMAQ, and SEMSCO, and that's it.
It's on Wednesday.
I think it's Wednesday at 3 o'clock on Zoom.
I forwarded something similar to that to David.
I thought the one I got said Tuesday, and it was an all-day schedule.
Then I'll have to look and see if something's updated this morning. But I'll whatever I have, I'll forward it out to you guys.
Thanks.
Okay.
My contacts had the last stuff, as David just said, moving everything to Wednesday in this abbreviated schedule.
Okay.
Looks like Pam's having a difficult time joining. Oh, she might be in mute, or she's retrying.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, of course, I was put in a new office today, so of course I couldn't get up my desktop to work, so I grabbed my laptop. Oh, I got it now. Oh my goodness, Murphy's Law, Murphy's Law. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this morning. Bill, could we do a roll call? We'll see how we're doing with quorum, or if you looked already.
Yep, we're 2, 3, 4, 5. We're 6. You're 6. So we need one more person.
Okay, so we'll start, and I'm sure somebody will jump on because it's only 9:32. Thank you, everyone, for joining this morning. I will ask everybody to review the minutes or give me any additions, deletions, or corrections. We won't vote on them until we have a full quorum. They were distributed from the November 1st meeting. They look good to me. I didn't see anything out of the norm, but if anybody had any issues, forever now speak. And Happy New Year, everybody. Sorry, I was so flustered by not getting on. I'm like all askew. I hope everybody's doing okay. I know we went from 70 COVID patients to 103 overnight, so I'm sure people are in the same boat. Kind of crazy this morning. Okay, without any other concerns, when we get one more on, Bill, just let me know and we'll take a vote for the minutes.
Okay.
Going through, we start with old business. I have nothing to report on the supraglottic pilot program. David, I don't know if you heard anything through training and education.
So we did get a phone call from Dan Clayton last week, had some questions about it. And I think those things were answered for him. So I'm wondering if that's going to end up moving forward. Mark Philippi and Lewis Marshall have a meeting with the commissioner coming up. And so hopefully that's all good news as well. I know they're looking at some other things there too. That's all I know. Unless Jeff, you know anything else on it, that's the closest insight we've got.
Yeah, no, that's the latest, but I do know that that meeting with the commissioner has been scheduled, I think, in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully we can move things along as well as all the other protocols.
Well, gosh, I hope it's before CMAC because we have CMAC coming up.
Yeah,
it's like
no, CMAC's tomorrow, so I don't think it's going to be before that.
The timing's terrible. I mean, it's going to be pushed off again. Oi, okay. The SLAM's advisory and training. Any follow up on that, Mike Beninati?
Good morning. Actually, I'll turn it over to Dr. Quintero because it looks like he's the only one that may be on the call here. They were going to work on, the docs were going to work on the training program. So Dr. Quintero, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Happy New Year. Yeah, I can speak to that. We have been working with Dr. Papish and Dr. Berkowitz on it. And I'd just like to share my screen with you. Let me see. And we have a PowerPoint. There you go, Mark is on the call. Let's see. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what we got so far. I was able to get the videos from New York City. We got permission. I haven't edited them, but as you know, this past 2 weeks, they have been so crazy in the ER and timing is of the essence. So by the end of the week, I think we'll have this ready. But here we just talk about a little about the history of EMS, how in the past, 50% of all stroke victims, the first people are EMS, the first contact. Strokes were treated as non-emergent events, and it was only seen as supportive care, sort of like back in the 70s with cardiac arrest. We talked about two main things that we need to do to treat patients with stroke. And then we talk about how there are so many stroke scales and which one of these scales should we use. And the answer is basically SLAMs. It's going to be the standardized scale that's going to be used throughout the region. And, EMS, it's in the middle of everything. They need to take the right people to the right place at the right time. Then we talk about the stroke designation protocol, about New York State, the 3-tier stroke system of care: primary stroke centers, thrombectomy capable stroke centers, comprehensive stroke centers. And then we go into basically the collaboration of the regions, the American Heart Association, New York State. And then we give a shout out to the FDNY and the Regional EMS Council of New York City for providing the videos and making them available for us. Then we describe what SLAM is. And this is our Westchester Hudson Valley SLAM's protocol, which is different from the New York City one because our exclusion criteria includes last known well greater than 24 hours. We go through important notices. These new protocols will be effective in the second quarter of 2022. Hopefully by the end of the week, we'll be able to have this done, and it will be ready by, through training. Probably February, March will be used for training, and these protocols will be in effect by April. Then we go through basic emergency ignition protocols when you suspect a stroke. This is talked about hypoglycemia, how to treat it. I gotta fix that. C should come before D. Then we have our, we talked about more about the protocol. Here's where the first video goes, and I'll show you the video that I already edited. It needs to be included into the PowerPoint. This is just part of the video as well. After the first video finishes, this is the next slide documenting the components of the SLAM protocol and give them the appropriate scores. And this is more about just like the protocol, what to do when you arrive to the patient, ask the patient questions, ask the family or bystanders questions. This is our exclusion criteria. And this here is where the second video should go. I'll share my other screen of the video. Can you guys see that?
Demonstrate the appropriate steps, the SLAM's evaluation. 1. Assess for facial droop. Have the patient show their teeth or smile.
Smile, look at me, and show me.
We're still on the first screen.
Oh, you are? Sorry.
Left side.
Let me.
We can hear the
recording
voice, the recording, but we couldn't see the.
So I was able to edit the parts of the video because their video is PowerPoint and video. So I was able to edit the video out of the PowerPoint that they have there. In the end, it would be sort of the same thing for us. It would be the PowerPoint with the video. It will be a narration of the PowerPoint and an incorporation of the video. But can you see the screen now?
Yeah.
We will now demonstrate the appropriate steps, the SLAM's evaluation. 1. Assess for facial droop. Have the patient show their teeth or smile.
Smile, look at me, and show me your teeth. Yes, facial droop on the left side.
Absent. If both sides of the face move equally, the score is 0. Present. If one side of the face does not move as well as the other side, the score is 1. 2. Arm drift. Have the patient close their...
So I'll have you not go through the whole video, but basically you get the gist of it. There has to be incorporation of the videos. And I think we'll have this done by the end of the week. And then it will be a narration of the PowerPoint and incorporation of the video. So it's basically all together. And then I'll forward this to Mark Papish and Dr. Berkowitz before we actually do the narration, just to make sure that everything is, on point.
Can you send it to me also, Frank? Please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that's where we are. I think by the end of the week, it should be ready to go.
Excellent.
As far as the training, Mark, do you have any idea of what would that consist of? I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. The training is basically, we're going to roll out this video and we'll send a system-wide email saying that this is going to be in place in the second quarter. And it's required to watch the video and then take a quiz. And the quiz questions have been written. Bill, you got those, right? I forwarded them to you. I know you said you didn't get them.
I'm going to have to check, but I believe I did.
Okay, because I think we were waiting for one change.
Yeah, there are 13 questions. And if anyone, if you want to go through them and see, but I went through them. They cover everything that were covered through the video. So everybody should be able to answer them without any problem.
And then once the people have taken the test online, they're golden. So that's the plan.
Dr. Papish, the Rich Parish, this is going to be rolled out that they can do it individually, just sign on for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark, this is David. Had we come to any conclusion about med control credits or anything for doing this?
Did we talk about it? I forget.
I think if people passed, we were going to give it to them, but if they didn't pass the first time, we were going to take them away.
That's what it was. Yeah. The only question is how much time to give. I mean, the actual video takes 15-20 minutes to watch, and probably the test takes 45 minutes for somebody taking their time.
Give them one credit. And technically it can go for, medical control, because we're all medical control doctors that are doing it with them. This is a medical control advisory and update. So, it's a better credit for them anyways, unless anybody's in disagreement.
Sounds good to me.
No, one of the things is that having just come off taking the emergency medicine boards, the American Board of Emergency Medicine has included this as one of their key advances that emergency docs have to know. And basically it's, our version of this, of basically this rollout in terms of, what patients are eligible for what and what they're supposed to do. So it is absolutely, this is now testable material for ER docs as well as for medics. My question is, are we just rolling this out to paramedics, or is this going to be rolled out to the whole EMS community?
I think the plan was the EMS community.
The whole EMS community, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I believe it's both an ALS and BLS protocol.
Well, because they can be first on the scene. So they can evaluate, they can do the SLAM. So we want them, to be up to par as much. And for notification purposes, it's really good for that initial visit to have that evaluation done. And then we can see if it changes.
Yeah, and with the strains on the system, if ALS wasn't available for a particular call, we wouldn't want the patient to lose out.
Exactly. Hey, Bill, I think we have a quorum now. Have you?
We do. I was just waiting for the discussion to
okay.
To end.
No problem. So thank you, everybody, and that kind of small team that worked on that. I really appreciated out of the protocol committee and such. This is a great upgrade. If you guys can just send me everything and send me the exam, I'll see if I can pass. And we'll go from there. But you know, what we need to do is make sure we roll it out with a notification too, just to make sure everybody's on the same page that this is what we want to enact going forward. And please sign on, you know, have everybody see it, take the exam, and really go through the training so people have the wherewithal that, you know, we're going to bring it to this next level. And as Dr. Larson said, it's on our new board questions because it's a new update. So we all need to be moving forward on that. So let me go back for a moment and just ask for a review of the minutes and to have an approval. If we could have a first and second motion.
Motion to approve, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Moving along, we have service upgrades. I don't know of any service upgrades, Bill. You have it on the agenda, but I don't know of any.
I have some adjunct upgrades that we should.
So the pad, EpiPens, and those things?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so we have Apple 4046 in Nanuet for a pad application. The Town of Newburgh VAC for CPAP. Fairview Fire Department for 12 lead adjunct, Cherokee Preserve Club for a pad, ARC of Ulster and Greene County for a pad, Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES for a pad, Bethel VAC for Narcan, Ashokan Center for a pad, and DFW Post 170 for a pad. That's nine adjuncts that we're at. So we're just having a quick agreement on that.
So moved. Any dissensions? Anyone against? Please motion or put forth an objection. Otherwise, we'll approve globally without any other. Sorry, I'm answering a chat too. Okay, thank you, everyone. Next is DOH enforcement. Do you have any notifications on there, Bill? You're muted.
Yes, I did. I actually have quite a few of them. We have Pamela Ashdoff from Flushing, New York for violation of Part 10, New York CRR Part 800.15, and her certificate was revoked on 2/3/21. We have John Henderson, also revoked 2/3/21 for the same violation, Part 800.15A2 from Brooklyn, New York. We have a violation for Public Health Law Article 30 from Ambulance Service of Fulton County Incorporated. They were revoked on 10/27/21 and assessed a civil penalty of $4,000. It's in Clifton Park, New York. We have John Sinelli, who certificate has been suspended from 11/2/21. Suspension stayed for 1 year pending no further violations for 3 years. He assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violation of Part 816 out of Grand Island, New York. Robert Gala was revoked effective 10/27/21, civil penalty of $2,000 for violation of Part 816A8 out of Brooklyn. We have Johnson Area Volunteer Ambulance Corps and in Johnstown, New York for violation of Public Health Law Article 30, Section 3012 was revoked on 10/27/21 and a civil penalty of $4,000. Violation, we have Matthew Martinez, for a violation of Part 816A2, suspended for 1 year, effective 10/29. Suspension was stayed pending no further violations for 3 years. Assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 and needs to provide proof of remediation. We have Andrew Jasinski from Shiro, New York, was suspended for 1 year effective 12/17/21. The suspension is stayed pending satisfactory completion of probation, placed on probation for 3 years on 12/17/21, assessed a civil penalty of $2,000. The penalty is stayed pending a successful completion of his probation. And that's out of Shiro, New York. And that's all that we have from the state.
Okay, thank you. I jumped right over you, Dr. Rashad. Evaluation subcommittee report, sorry.
No problem. We had one case referred to the committee by a colleague of mine for an esophageal intubation. I'll quickly describe the case. It's a nonagenarian with history of stroke, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, diabetes, was found unresponsive. The ALS crew arrived. The patient had a GCS of 3, was normotensive, a heart rate in the 90s, saturating 86% on room air. They did a finger stick glucose, got about 100, 136 on the AccuCheck, and then started to support the airway with bag valve mask ventilation. Proceeded through, and it appears on the PCR, an MFI attempt with etomidate and Versed. I'm not sure if the medic in the region was MFI certified. That's a question I do have for Jeff. There were greater than 5 attempts at securing the airway. During the endoscopy, it looks like there's essentially, once laryngoscopy starts, there's no subsequent vital signs documented. There's no end-tidal CO2 confirmation of the tube. Nevertheless, commentary is tube is secured and the patient goes into a sinus bradycardia, but ACLS is initiated. So we presume that the sinus bradycardia is a PEA rhythm. My colleague referred this to me because they looked with video laryngoscopy. The the tube was in the esophagus. They re-intubated, sort of ashen appearance immediately became pink. Nevertheless, the patient was ultimately terminated. So a number of issues here. I think the agency sort of prophylactically, just QA'd this on their own as an ACLS case and restricted the paramedic who had to meet with clinical quality director as well as the medical director. And sort of the decision was made to, one, restrict ALS care for some time. The medic was asked and required to complete ACLS from scratch, essentially take that course again, and is riding as a second medic to continue to buff ALS skills. So that's where we are thus far, which seems like a reasonable intervention to me. I'll open it up to the crew, and Jeff is going to be reaching out to the agency as well, just to see how long the proposed restriction is for and how the medic is progressing.
All right, thank you. So let's make sure we follow up on that one. That had quite a few issues there that we should discuss, and also make sure we have a good corrective action on with follow-up, and that they come back to us with that follow-up. Thank you, Dr.
Just one more comment on that. Just also, regardless of what happened in the case and so on, we should just reinforce to folks, and this is reinforcing it to ourselves too, is that when things don't go really right, you better write. You better write some things down. You know, just be, you know, both to protect yourself and also so that people know what happened. I mean, that's the most important thing about the medical record, is so that the future crew knows what happened. But if you don't write anything down, again, it's that old adage. So.
And also, if there's any, you know, sequelae or bad outcomes, my goodness, you need to be able to say, because, you know, there's always times we can have a problem with an airway, but we need to, as Dr. Larson is eloquently saying, we need to document exactly what happened so we can, you know, put together the pieces and say, this is what went on and what the patient looked like and how the patient was before and after. 5 attempts. Yeah. So we need to talk about that one, Dr. Rashad.
Yeah. I mean, 5 attempts should never happen, right?
Yeah.
And then the protocol clearly states continuous waveform, right? So,
yeah,
you know,
there's a bunch.
They should go back to basics, right? Use a BVM and transport, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I would love to see what the time frame was for that. 5 attempts. That's, I bet.
I'm anonymizing it somewhat. It's greater than 5 attempts.
Okay. Yeah, so let's make sure we meet on that one again. And we move forward with what the next steps are. Thank you, Dr. Rashad. So next is helicopter committee report, Dr. Larson, Dr. Stu Miller.
Okay, so Dr. Stu Miller had a clinical conflict today that he couldn't get out of. I chaired the helicopter committee, and it was brief. And actually what I'm going to do is turn it over to Steve Scully-Beeman, and he's going to give a report, summation of what we did discuss, and also sort of an update and a review of helicopters in the Hudson Valley.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. First, I'd like to start off with some very positive news. Want to thank everyone for their support here, but as you may have recently seen, 2 weeks ago, Governor Hochul signed the legislation allowing for blood products to be carried by Air Medical Services in New York. Our clinical teams are working right now to secure the contracts and complete the training, and we anticipate beginning to roll out blood products throughout New York as early as the middle of this month. What that'll mean for scene transports is we will have blood products available, PRBCs O negative, available to patients that meet criteria. So hopefully they'll be more stable and better prepared for further resuscitation at your receiving facilities. One of the conversations that came up this morning is as it relates to inter-hospital transports. I know one of the conversations has been the difficulty in securing ground transport for patients that are already on blood products. We are held to the same criteria as these ground ambulances through our ambulance transfusion service agreements, which we have throughout New York State and the Hudson Valley region. With that, our aircraft will always be readily available to transport those patients without any additional logistical hurdles. We work closely with the local blood banks at your facilities to make sure that all those agreements are up to date and ready. And we're also working to solidify our process to return any necessary paperwork to the sending facility to be compliant with the blood bank regulations. In those instances where patients otherwise clinically appropriate for air medical transport, there's no additional details that you or your staff have to worry about. We'll take that blood product and continue it en route to the receiving facility, and they can meet any expectations as far as a clinical transport there. And in that instance, you don't have to worry about losing any staff. Between our paramedic and our nurse, they're able to completely independently maintain that, so you're not losing any staffing for any amount of time related to that. As far as our flight activity throughout the Hudson Valley, in 2021, we had 2,425 requests between scene and interfacility flights, and we completed 676 missions in the Hudson Valley. It was about a 50-50 split between interfacility and scene transports, and the majority of these patients fell into the arena of trauma, both adult and pediatric, and then neuro patients accounted for the second most frequency of requests. And I believe that's all I have for you, unless anyone has any other specific questions I can answer.
No, thank you. That was a great report. Now, what about in terms of numbers compared to years in the past? Is that about the same for requests and, flights completed, missions
We've
completed?
definitely seen a meaningful increase year over year. I don't have the specific figures in front of me, but anecdotally, just for reference, our Air 2 base, based out of Ulster County, that's primarily services this region, has seen a dramatic increase throughout the year. They broke several records this year as far as flight volume and completed missions. A lot of it has to do with just the sheer critical nature of the patients we're seeing, the higher acuity. But additionally, as I'm sure all of you are very familiar, there has been some additional struggles with ground resource availability. And through that, I think a lot of our providers, both in the hospitals and in the field, have learned to better utilize our resource, not just as a trauma program, but for those STEMI patients, those neuro patients, and otherwise critical illnesses that may not have traditionally been accessible.
I have a question for you. With the COVID ICU bed crunch we're seeing over the last several months, do you have a sense of how many of your interfacilities now are just really for ICU placement from facilities that don't have beds available? I know there's been a lot of movement from upstate, downstate, et cetera.
Yes, we've definitely seen an increase in ICU patients being moved throughout the state and beyond the entire Northeast region, particularly from the upstate region, as you mentioned, Syracuse and the North Country areas. I don't have a specific figure. However, we've definitely seen an increase over the past month or two in that activity. Earlier on in COVID, late 2020, early 2021, we definitely saw a lot of census balancing and management activities for patients who were critical in nature and required that critical care intervention and monitoring en route, but simply didn't have the resources locally to be managed as they normally would be.
In addition, also, you had some update of assets in terms of medical and modernization and capabilities in terms of transport. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. So throughout the New York program, we're introducing 8 upgraded aircraft to our existing bases. And through that, we'll have better resources for our specialty flights, specifically for interfacilities. Our Harris base out of Sullivan County is going to be upgrading to an EC-130 with better weight capabilities and just more space for clinical equipment. Part of that will be we'll be able to accommodate IABP and Impella devices through that aircraft, much as Air 2 currently does. And additionally, Albany will be upgrading to an EC-145 to match our Air 2 resource in the Hudson Valley, which is capable of ECMO and NICU flights in concert with some of our hospital partners. So we'll have much more consistency within our fleet. We're going from about 5 different airframes to 3. So we'll be able to better backfill those for vacations, illnesses, maintenance. But additionally, we'll just have better coverage with more advanced aircraft, more safety features, and more access to different specialty care modalities.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Anything else, Dr. Larson?
No, not really. Just on the COVID, interfacility transport, obviously this has gone up nationwide too, and there's been a lot of use of helicopters, and so much that ASAP put it in their, their weekly newspaper. There's a fairly large article that's decent about it in terms of what kind of measures have been taken to do that stuff safely. So it's definitely a nationwide issue, of course.
Okay, thank you guys. We'll bring up some of that about both COVID and transportation in the open forum and under new business. Quality improve. Oh, sorry, Dr. Larson. Also, RTAC. Was there a meeting? I don't remember a meeting.
Yes, there was a meeting, and there was also, I think there was other people on this meeting. I know Dr. Quintero was on it. So there was a few things actually that were brought up. I mean, just sort of on, some of the old kinds of issues that they want to, quality control. And of course, still have problems with is things like, ET tube placement in the field. No surprise. We just talked about that because they are receiving, patients with They've noticed some problems with that. Also, we changed our C-spine protocols and proper placement and stuff like that. So they've seen sort of a little, sort of step backwards in terms of people still taking some protective measures on the C-spine and not doing it where they should have appropriately been done. And the other big issue they did talk about is from receiving at the medical center, and this sort of applies, is a lot of inappropriate tourniquet placement. So not that the tourniquets were placed wrongly, below the injury or something like that, but that they were used a little bit too frequently and unnecessarily for things that were like venous bleeds that probably could have been stopped very easily with direct pressure, stuff like that. And so I think, again, these three issues we need to be taking back to our crews and sort of re-educating folks. But I think especially this tourniquet thing, I mean, the stop the bleed, I think was a correct move. And it's an important thing that we've brought into the consciousness of both our crews, our hospital staffs, and the general public. But obviously, especially for those of us in the pre-hospital and EMS and ED world, we have to know how to place these things and use them appropriately. So I think some re-education would be good on that, because they were talking, if other people remember in the meeting, there was some pretty high percentage of what they felt was inappropriate placement of tourniquets. So that's what I have. If anyone else was at the meeting and have some stuff, certainly fill in.
Rich Parrish, Dr. Larson did a real good job of identifying the EMS in crisis. And after the meeting, I sent a copy of Mike's report to those folks to have it distributed. But I think Dr. Larson did a great job explaining the EMS in crisis.
Just, one thing on that, I have seen at least in the local newspaper that has made it in to the paper. I think, Jeff, you were quoted in one of those articles because they were talking about Rockland County, Jeff Ravish, Dr. Ravish. So, yeah, anyway, so at least it's starting to get out there. We have to keep pushing it. I know there's some momentum in Westchester County. So this is really a political front momentum. So we need to keep it up. And just looking and reviewing how blood got into the helicopter, the ability to transfuse, that became a political issue after someone who got badly hurt kept pursuing it, and it caught some political motion, and that's how that thing got passed through. And that's the kind of fire we got to light here so that we get this EMS system improved. And one of the things that there have been some stuff around education and and there's been an initiative in Westchester County about this at Westchester Community College to basically get your tuition paid if you go into a paramedic training program, into like a community college type setting and that kind of stuff. So those kinds of things are good to sort of upfront load this, but there's a lot of stuff as we all know, in our system that we need to act on.
It's just kind of too bad that it takes that political figure to push this thing forward because of a untoward event. It should be something that they should just want to do because we need to do it. We need to do it for everyone. But you're right. Thank God.
Right. And we're still behind, right? Like the blood shouldn't just be limited to helicopters, right? There's a lot more utility. And part of the problem is that in this state, we do not have a state EMS medical director advising the commissioner on EMS. So I know everyone's aware that CMAQ sent a letter to the new commissioner regarding that, and hopefully all the REMACs are supporting that as well.
Yeah, and it's on the agenda again for that meeting you were talking about that they're having with the commissioner. and the governor. So hopefully, you know, it's going to move forward, because we've all been pushing that for over a year now, even more. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Larson. Quality improvement report, Jeff.
We updated the New York State schematron late last week. Still have not seen any significant fallout from that. Most of the changes were actually fairly simple. The other issue that we are still working on is from the one vendor, Zoll. They still haven't fixed their issues from the schematron rollout from June. Ongoing meetings with vendors, agencies, and the state. We're hoping that that gets resolved before this time next year. One thing that we are going to be working on this year are quarterly QA/QI meetings via Zoom with the agencies. I haven't finished working out the logistics of that, but that was brought forth by David Violante. So I would expect we'll be working on that next couple of weeks to get that rolling. I can speak a little bit to the tourniquet issue mentioned with the RTAC meeting. We had in 2021, 16 applications of a tourniquet. And in reading those narratives from those PCRs, there was nothing in there that led me to believe that they were not placed appropriately. So one of the issues that we need to look at is when we have a problem coming back from a receiving facility, we need some more information so that we can track it down. Date, time, agency. We have the data, so we can go back and address that with the agency so they can address it with the provider. But to just hear it anecdotally, there's not an awful lot we can do, because we don't want to, you know, paint this with a very wide brush. It would be better to deal with the issues with the providers and the agencies. And that's about it for now.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. I think when it comes down to kind of any issue that comes up, it's actually always really good to do it more real time as soon as you can, juxtaposed to the incident, because it just has more benefit when we really look at it in real time and really investigate, because there's always two sides to every story, right? So I think whenever we do any of these investigations, timeliness is key and follow-up is key. Thank you very much. Protocol Committee, Mr. Beninati.
Good morning, Happy New Year. My report is very brief, really. The two topics that I have are both on hold. RSI program is being looked at, and we have more to follow up on that. We're also going to start looking at ET3 to see if we need to start developing anything in the region on that. Other things that we're addressing have already been addressed earlier in the program. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, all your work and the whole committee's work. I know you guys do a lot behind the scenes that nobody really knows, but you guys spend a lot of time and I appreciate it. So CMAC, there's no report because we have the meeting starting tomorrow. So we will delay that for now and put that on hold. Under open forum and new business, just if anyone, wanted to discuss COVID transportation, anything that we can do to help each other, anything that we can do to try to make things easier and smoother, I just wanted to open the forum.
So Pam, I'd just like to mention, I know we're all tired. It's been almost 3 years now. It's going on, but just to remind your crews about proper PPE, unfortunately, I'm seeing that slipping amongst a lot of crews and even coming into the ERs, without wearing masks, et cetera. So I know it's been a long time and we're all tired, but, we got to do what we can to protect our people.
And I think that people don't realize how contagious, this Omicron variant is. It's crazy. Really masks are so key, and really talking about them now, should we be even upgrading to a KN95 and an N95, just when we're working in such on all levels. But I think that, you know, it's hard. None of us thought it was going to be this long, that we'd be going into now our fourth wave. But as you said, you know, Dr. Rayrich, it's so important that we still remember all the basics. Just like going back to the basic airway, we got to protect ourselves, protect our patients, protect everyone. And especially when you're walking into the ED, to be fully, you know, masked up in an appropriate gear depending upon your patient. I can't emphasize that enough. You know, safety and protection of all is really, really important. Otherwise, we're not going to have anybody to deliver any care. That's what's happening. We're having employees drop left and right in our institution. It's crazy. We're sometimes testing 50 to 60 employees a day, and 90% of them are coming out positive. And it's not from exposures in the hospital. It's all from outside. It's really kind of crazy. Okay, anything else? Open forum. Anything else anybody wanted to talk about?
Well, just along that line, I'd like to mention that New York State has executed the national ambulance contract, and there are several ambulances in the upstate sections of New York that are transporting patients. Most of them are interfacility transports to try to offload some of the patients to other hospitals, because there's this very severe bed shortages in a lot of the areas in upstate New York. I don't know how close we are. I haven't heard too much in our area, but I know there's quite a bit happening up in upstate.
Yeah, so they had put out a large, or, you know, pretty extensive communication about that. They brought in a bunch of corps to help out through the upstate area. They were really having trouble and trying to get patients to the right facilities, because patients were off in smaller facilities and really needing to get to the bigger institutions and could not get transportation. So, you know, that was a great move. All right. This is going to be another record meeting. It's only 45 minutes, but anything else anybody needs to talk about? Otherwise, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. And again, you know, CMAX tomorrow, we actually zoomed it all into one day now, because we made it all virtual. So it'll all be falling on tomorrow. There's boardable accounts that have been sent to everybody. Hopefully you have them. And any questions, concerns, anything? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Hey, Pam, I got one thing too. Dr. Quintero, please go first.
Mine is going to be a little longer. You can go ahead. Maybe.
No, I was just going to say, you know, EMS, while we've been in crisis here for some time and things are shaking out, and, you know, it's a lot of the same people doing a lot of the same work. I really wanted to extend a huge thank you to all of the docs here for all of your involvement in EMS over the many years and keeping us all together. And I know sometimes it's like herding cats, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much for all the work, docs, really.
Thank you. So I'd like to bring something up as a new business. And this I've been working on for since last year, the ability to identify patients through like a mass casualty incident or unidentified patients that come in through the ER. We at White Plains Hospital had a drill, an MCI drill back in June 2021 to just put our protocols to test. And basically we test their start triage, jump start triage, and the registration process. And we found that following the Greater New York Hospital Association naming conventions that they have given to our hospital, basically was the last names of presidents and vice presidents. It works, but unfortunately the EMR system is not set up to the way that where we're able to fully take advantage of it. Basically, there's no training capability for us to start shooting out names as patients come in, you know, and so this was brought up to the Greater New York Hospital Association, and they had a meeting in November. And I'd like to share the document that the minutes basically of what they came up with. And I can send this to everyone as well. You know, I would like to ask people, what do you guys do at your respective hospitals when patients come in? Because I think John Doe and Jane Doe, you know, it's something of the past. And like, you know, you can have Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2, Jane Doe 3, and it's confusing. But I think, you know, we're pushing into having New York State Department of Health to adopt a new system in which hospitals can communicate with each other in case of a mass casualty incident, and able to track these patients in a way that is very streamlined. And so we're, you know, I brought this to these groups to see if there's anything that we can bring up to the state, or any way that we can collaborate together and put something forward. But basically, each hospital has a naming convention given by the Greater New York Hospital Association, which it could be, you know, fruits, it could be planets, it could be animals. And I think that just gets too confusing. And so they have suggested to have something unified. And if you see number 3 here, they have suggested to use the NATO alphabet. And then if that, for each hospital, and if you run out of those names, then you can provide a list of trees or a list of plants. But basically it will be something like the last name will be the name of the above list, plus the hospital abbreviation, and the first name will be unknown. And so the example here that we have will be for New York Presbyterian Weill Cornell Hospital will be Alpha, Weill Cornell, unknown Alpha, following the NATO alphabet. So, you know, I'd like to know, like, what do you guys do at your own respective hospitals when you have unidentified patients, or in the case of an MCI, I think time was of the essence, and, you know, registration is also one of those bottlenecks. And, you know, if you don't know who is in your ER, I don't think you're gonna be able to take care appropriately of those patients or know where they are.
Yeah, so Frank, I would suggest that, you know, I think this is good, except, you know, not every hospital participates strongly with Greater New York. There's a lot of variability, and then obviously upstate doesn't. So, you know, I think there should be a meeting with the health department regarding their e-fine system, right? And then these changes should be incorporated into the state tracking system so that everyone's doing, you know, a similar thing. Because one of the things, you know, that happens in these disasters, happened during Sandy and others, is that, you know, people can get moved all over the state, especially with COVID. And then the state's trying to find someone and they can't find them. But the e-fine system does have those scannable bracelets and a whole tracking system within, I think it's within HERDS. So I think Greater New York and maybe a representative from DOH, we should get a meeting together of, you know, those agencies, so that whatever convention we choose, it's the same throughout the state.
Right.
Very good point.
Dr. Rabich, Rich Parrish again. The e-fine system, every meeting I've been at with it, I've been pushing to make that available to EMS for the sign of at the site of a disaster.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Rich. It should be.
And I've been asked to back off on that, but that bracelet could be put into the EMS coordinators vehicles, and at the scene of a disaster, slap that bracelet on and start the process there.
Yeah. I would suggest it might be worth bringing this issue, you know, to the state level on either, you know, the CMAC or one of the SEMSCO subcommittees, and, you know, maybe systems or something, and push it that way. Several of us are on those committees. Maybe we can get some traction there and at least get a conversation started.
That would be great.
Every hospital has their own system, and I'm sure it's totally different. Like, you know, we use countries, and we have like 50 pre-made charts with, you know, disaster, you know, Zimbabwe or whatever. And so, and I'm sure every other hospital has their own, but there's no interoperability between any of them.
Right, and I think that's, you know, a very important point, because like we mentioned, these patients can go anywhere, and being able to track and family reunification is, you know, important.
Yeah, especially with the movement of patients now, and really some to quite a distance.
Okay, so who can I speak to bring this up to SEMSCO or a subcommittee of?
I'm on the systems committee. If you want to send it to me, I can bring it up there. Jeff, are you on that one also?
No, but I think that's probably a good place to start. Either that or just, new business at SEMSCO itself.
Right, yeah.
Great.
Okay, thank you, you guys.
Pam, I have one more thing that I'd just like to announce here. On December 23rd, we got an email from the Department of Health that says the Department of Health has designated Good Samaritan Medical Center in Suffolk, New York as a provincial level 3 adult trauma center.
Okay.
So we have them as a trauma center.
And lastly, attached to your email regarding this meeting, the minutes were there, and also the projected dates for the next REMAC meetings, next being March 7th. Karen has June 13th in red, and I wasn't sure, was that because she moved it down a week?
I believe that's because she changed it. Yes.
Yeah, and then September 12th and November 7th. So everybody take a look at those dates. Those are the meetings coming forward, March 7th being our next one coming up. And if there's nothing further, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if we were going to stay here all day. And a second, please.
Second.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody. Be safe. Reach out for help, and let's keep moving forward. Thank you so much.
See y'all.